tells us not to put our trust in man, but to put our trust in him.
Amen.
And the way that the world is going, you ought to hear the words of the Lord. Amen?
Amen.
And know that when you come up, after you done put 6 and 6 together, and you got 13. Amen. That you need to trust in the Lord.
Amen.
And know that the Lord is your shepherd. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And amen. Fear no man when you're in the family of the Lord. Amen. Seeing all these young folk up in here today, amen, I'm reversing my message on today.
Amen.
Amen. They say you only get one time for a first impression. Amen.
Amen.
And so we would like to, I don't usually preach by days or titles, amen, but on today we want to talk to you over in the 15th chapter of St. Luke. 15th chapter of St. Luke, starting about the 11th verse. Amen.
Amen.
And it says in the 15th chapter of St. Luke, at the 11th verse, it says, and he said, a man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, give me a portion of the goods that befalleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. Amen. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country. And there was wasted his substance with riotous living. Amen.
Amen.
We think on the subject matter, runaway child, running wild. You need to go back home where you belong.
Amen.
I know somebody ain't heard me up in here this morning. But we said runaway child, running wild. You need to go back home where you belong. And now on this day, as we sit and look at all of these young people, we know some of them are saying, Mama and Daddy just don't understand.
Come on, preacher.
Amen. I reached my time in life. Even at the age of 4, been doing this all my life, and they just don't understand. Amen. And they decided that they know more than Mom and Pa know. Amen.
Amen.
And they have made up their mind that I'm not going to do what Mom and Pa tell me to. But we need to train them up in the way that they should go and tell them how to teach them how to respect their mothers and fathers. Here in this particular story, they say they had a man that had 2 boys. Amen. And with the 2 boys, they decided that they knew more than Mom and Pa did. Amen.
All right.
They say there are 2 forces in this world. One is good and one is evil.
All right.
In this particular case, the father had 2 young boys. Amen. And one boy wasn't ready, even though he was the oldest, to leave home. Amen. He had a little sense about himself. But then on the other hand, they had the younger brother. We can't say he was bad. He just didn't have good thinking. Amen.
Come on, preacher.
And so he figured that it was time for him to leave. Amen. But check it out. Check it out. Something maybe we didn't think about. Amen. Even though he wanted to leave on his own and go out and do his own thing. Amen. He still asked his daddy to give him the portion that belonged to him.
Right. Right.
Ain't work no job. Ain't put no money in the house. Only thing that he put in there is a whole lot of mouth. Amen.
Come on, preacher.
But yet, before he can go out and make his own way, amen, do the thing that he wanted to do, he still had to go to daddy.
All right.
That's right.
And ask daddy to give him what he needed in order to go do what he wanted to do.
Right.
Amen.
That's right.
I ain't never thought about that. Amen.
Come on, preacher.
So it shows that everybody needs somebody
That's right. That's right.
sometime. Amen.
Amen.
Don't care who you are, you need somebody sometime. But they said, the young boy said, Daddy, give me what belongs to me. And I did the math and I came up with nothing. From nothing
It's nothing.
leaves nothing.
That's right.
Amen.
Amen.
That sounds wise, but now these younger folk, they got a better mind. They came up with the new math. Nothing from nothing might leave nothing in your eyesight.
Everything to me.
But nothing from nothing plus something. Give me what you give everybody else. Come up to give me my stuff. Amen.
Well,
And so the daddy said, okay, son, you can have everything that you want from what I give you, and I'm going to divide what I have between you and your brother. Amen. A lot of young people be happy now. I can go out here and do like I want. Amen. I don't want to eat Cheerios no more. I ain't eating Cheerios no more.
well,
If all I want to eat all day long is whole wheat bread, that's what I'll eat. Amen. I eat ice cream all day long. Amen.
come on, preacher.
But in the process, that the reason why God tells us to train them up in the way that they should go, God is also teaching us that you got to put the right thing in to get the right product. Amen.
That's right. That's right.
You can't keep eating sugar and sugar and sugar all the time and don't expect to get diabetes.
That's right.
Come on, preacher.
That's right.
Amen.
Come on.
And so God is giving us a story here where the young boy decided that he had smelled it, we call it back in the day, smelled his mustache. Amen.
Come on.
And felt that he had gotten grown and decided that he wanted to go do what he wanted to do.
Amen.
God wants young people to know that you can't do everything you want to do.
That's right.
God let you know mom and pop can't do everything they want to do.
That's right.
Preach, preacher.
There are some rules and regulations no matter where you go.
That's right.
We know we got a president, and the president can't do everything he wants to do. Amen.
Amen.
And the only one that can do everything he wants to do is the Lord. Amen.
That's right.
Because he made everything.
All right now.
So God is saying to us, amen, that in certain parts of your life, you're going to get to the place that you ain't going to want to do what mom and pa want you to do. Or you're going to think mom and pa being unfair because they won't let you have what you want, when you want it, and how you want it.
Well,
But God is saying that sometimes you got to go out here and get into a storm. Sometimes you got to go out here and find out what mom and pa is talking about.
That's right.
Well, this young man, amen, decided that he knew more than his daddy did. This young man felt like that if he had what he wanted from his daddy to do what he wanted to do, he wouldn't have to listen to daddy anymore. Amen.
come on.
But everything that we find out in life is a learning process. Amen. we have to learn how to do what we do. Amen.
Amen.
That's why, because God, when you're a baby, they give you what? Milk. Amen. But after a while, you drunk enough milk, you find out the milk will not satisfy you. So now you got to get what? Some food, some meat, they call it. Amen. You can eat solid food now. And as time goes on, as you eat solid food, you decide that hot dogs won't do it. Amen.
Come on.
Sometimes you got to eat some string beans. Yeah. Sometimes you got to eat collard greens. Sometimes you got to eat cabbage. Sometimes you got to eat tomato. But you find out that these things, amen,
Amen.
help you to grow up. Amen. Heard of Popeye? Popeye had to eat his spinach. Oh, they looked up to me now. And they ain't talking some stuff I know about. The Popeye ate his spinach to get strong. Your parents had to eat carrots and all that kind of stuff. And even though you don't like those things, they help you to grow up to be woof. Amen. But in this particular case, this young boy wanted to do what he wanted to do. He didn't want to do what his mama wanted to do. Well, they ain't saying about his mama. But he didn't want to do what his daddy wanted to do. He wanted to do what he wanted to do himself. And they tell me that after the daddy had gave him his portion, that he went down to a strange city.
All right.
Amen. Didn't nobody know that was Big Al Jones' son? Didn't nobody know that Al Jones had gave him so much money? But after he got out there and started showing everybody, I got the money, I got the money, you got no money. Amen. People saw a chance to be able, amen, to get hold of some of his money. The thing is that you got to learn today that everybody that smiles in your face ain't your friend.
That's right.
Amen. Well, Jeannie said, Sally said, I ain't trying to pronounce none of them names, y'all the names kids. Amen. Akawaka, Sasaka, Hezekiah. I can't name them names, that's why I'm using these simple names. But amen, you'll find out that your friend will tell you to do things that they can't do. Amen.
That's right.
And you want to be a bigger person than them and be more popular than them. So you'll try to do what they tell you that you ought to do. Amen. But I always tell people that you can do, y'all listen, you can do whatever you want to do. Amen. Whether you sneak and do it, or whether mom part let you do it, but always remember there's a word that you need to put in your vocabulary, young as you are, consequences. For whatever you do, who know what consequences is? Don't know what consequences is? Anybody? Raise your hand, you know what consequences are. Don't know what consequences are? Okay. Even though you have to suffer consequences. So whatever you do, you know about payday. If you work, you expect to get paid, right? Mm-hmm. So if you do something bad, God is saying you're going to suffer consequences. So you're going to get paid for what you've done. So if you've done something bad, you expect to get good pay for that? No. Do you? No. Okay, that's right. But if you do something good, you expect to get what? A reward. If you win a game, you get a what? A trophy, right? But if you do something bad, you get what? Punished, right? Anybody? Oh, y'all don't get punished. Okay, fine. But anyway, when you find out that you've done something bad, then you get punished, or you have to go through some things that's what not going to be pretty. And so this young boy went down and he made friends with people probably just like him. They done ran away from home too. They didn't want to do what they were told to do around the house. They didn't want to help. They didn't want, only thing they wanted to do was what they wanted to do. So we find out this prodigal son was doing exactly what he wanted to do. He had new friends that were out. Every time he said, let's go get a hot dog, they was right there with him. Every time he said, let's go down to McDonald's and get an ice cream cone, they were right there with him. And every time they got something, guess who paid for it?
He did.
The little boy paid for it because he had what? Plenty of money. I got my money, y'all got no money. Amen. And so he was using up all his money. But guess what his friends were doing? Supposed to be his friend. They were keeping the money in their pocket. So they can go do what they want to later on. Amen. Now, what happened was the young boy ran out of money. Now, you're going to find out you got people that always hang around you for what you can do for them. Now, when they ain't got no more money, you don't need them. When they can't do what you want them to do, you don't need them. But yet, those are your friends. You know what a friend is? You know what a friend is? Okay. You know what a friend is? You thinking about it? Okay. But you'll find out that those ones that you call your friend ain't really your friend. They just there because you can do something for them. That's why God tell you, don't put your trust. See, when he say man, he mean mankind. He don't just mean me as a man, but he means mankind. So you have to be real careful about your friends, right? That's right. Because your friends, you don't want nobody to use you. You don't want to use nobody, right? So you have to learn how to do it. But anyway, these people used him till all his money ran out. Amen. And after all his money ran out, they didn't want nothing else to do with it. And so he tried to decide that he's going to try to get some of this money back from his friends. And all of them left. That's what sometimes these so-called friends will do for you. They'll tell you how to do something. Well, you go in there and go down there and get some cookies and milk. Amen. And they know that mom told you, well, you can't get no cookies and milk. And so they'll send you to get the cookies and milk. And when everything go down, what happens?
They gone.
You be the one because they didn't go get it. You went down and got the cookies and milk. And so you have to be careful about the friends that you get. You have to be careful about the people that call you friend. And watch them because they might get you in trouble. And you want to what? Stay out of trouble. Amen? How many of y'all get time out? How many of y'all get time out? Okay. I got a rough crowd here. This crowd worse than Harlem. Amen? But anyway, that they'll get in trouble, and that's the way a lot of people will do you. That's why you have to talk to your parents. I know you trust your friends because your friends don't fuss at you. Your friends don't punish you and everything. But sometimes it's better to talk to your parents. But anyway, this young boy has spent all his money up. He hadn't done half the things that he wanted to do. Now he had too much pride. You know what pride is? Yeah, everybody, they know what pride is. Okay. But pride will mess you up. Because pride will keep you from doing the right thing. Yes. Now, after he had spent all his money up, all the people that left him and everything, amen, he knew that his daddy had a house. He knew his daddy had all the convenience. He had a bathtub and, well, I know like y'all don't want to talk about that, okay. But anyway, he had all these other things at home that they wanted. Amen. When you left, you left your tricycle and your bicycle and all these things, and now y'all here, you ain't got none of that. But because you got pride, you don't want to go back home because it make it look like what? You failed. You didn't do right. So he decided that he wasn't going to go back home. So he decided, I'm not cussing, but he decided that he wanted to get a job. Yeah, that's a lot of cussing to some people. Amen. So I ain't using bad language. He decided he had to get a job. And when he got the job, The job didn't really pay him nothing because people didn't have any money. So you don't never know when money gonna run out with everybody else. And so what he did, he had to go work. Y'all know what hogs are? Pigs. Yeah, so they had to go work on the pig farm. You think you like working on the pig farm? You know, stinky, ain't it? Yeah. So they had to go down there stinky every day. And he had to watch the pig eat. You know, pig don't eat, he eat everything. And he had to go down there and work with the pigs. And when he worked with the pigs, so every day. And so he didn't have money to buy no food. So guess what he did?
Yeah, he would have pigs eat.
Yeah, he had to eat the same thing the pigs eat. That's right. And see, so they call that rock bottom. You done gone as low as you can go. So he eating the same thing that the pig was eating. Amen.
Come on.
And so finally, let's go back to his house where his daddy. What you think his daddy was doing? You think his daddy was glad he left home? No, he wasn't glad. He wanted what? He wanted his son back home. And so he did what? What we all have to do when we're going through something. If we trust Jesus, we what? We pray to Jesus, right? So he started praying to Jesus to get his son to come back home. But pride was still holding on to his son to make him say, if I go back home, he know I failed. So what he did, amen, what he did was that he stayed down where he was at, but the pops kept praying, Lord, bring my son home, bring him home safely. See, a lot of times, your mom and daddy get mad at you, but they don't dislike you.
That's right.
You think they don't dislike you. Oh, they're the best. They're mad at me. I ain't gonna never be friends with my mom. No, that's a mom and daddy thing. They have to get upset with you sometimes because you're gonna do something to upset them. Amen. But they forgive you. Just like you have to learn how to forgive them when maybe they make a mistake.
That's right.
Nobody's perfect. Amen.
That's right.
A lot of times, if I gave you everything you want, what you gonna need?
That's right.
How you gonna learn that you can't have everything that you want?
That's right.
So the daddy kept praying and praying and praying, and after he prayed for so long, amen, they tell me that the son realized that pride wasn't doing him no good. He was out here hungry and eating what the hogs eat, but his daddy was eating pork chop, chicken leg, French fries, Big Mac. Yeah, man, I get a smile in somewhere. He got a smoothie around the house, chicken wings. Y'all eat chicken wings? Yeah. He ran there eating them big burgers and fish sandwiches and good gracious. He had a feast going on at the house, but he ain't eating what? Oh, stinky food. So he came to himself and decided what he wanted to do was to go back home. Amen. But he would go back home and tell his daddy, you don't have to be my daddy no more. I'll just work for you. But the daddy told him, no, don't work that, son. You my son. I love you. I know you did wrong, but you had to learn that you can't have everything you want. You had to learn that I love you and I'll do anything for you. Amen. So what he did, he told that he had what they call a servant, somebody that he paid to do things around the house for him outside of his son. And the servant, he told the servant to go get his son a robe and put a robe on him, and he gave him a ring. And he gave him a reward. Why do you think he gave him a reward? He gave him a reward because he came to his senses. He gave him a reward because he had some wisdom to be able to know that sometimes you got to humble yourself.
That's right. That's right.
Sometimes you can't get everything that you want. But the things that you get, a lot of times, are what you need. And so the son was back home. He was back in the grace of his dad. But what? He had to learn through his lesson. What I'm saying to you today is you don't have to go through that if you just sit and think about what you're going through. If you have to sit and think about what you're supposed to do. You supposed to learn how to help your mama when she need help. Help your daddy when he need help.
Preach, preacher.
Amen. And don't do like they had a song out there with Shirley Caesar where the little boy went and gave the mama a bill because he wanted to get paid for cleaning up his own room.
No charge.
But when you clean up your room, what? Clean it up good. Not because of your mama, because you got what? You got a little self-respect too. You respect yourself. So anyway, the young boy went back home. Now, in the fairy tale story, you would say had a happy ending because the little boy went back home. He's back with his daddy, and everybody was happy. But everybody wasn't happy. His brother was mad because he came back. That means that he do something they call double dipping. That means he'd get a double portion rather than one portion. He'd get two portions of what his daddy had because what he came back home, he was made the son. So that means that he'll get two portions and his brother only get one, and his brother wasn't happy. You know, like a lot of times you have something and you always want it, and then your older brother or older sister leave, and they leave it, then you finally get it. Amen. Now he done got something. I know the older brother got something that was his. Probably got his room or something. I don't know. But he was happy that he was gone. But now that he coming back, that means he got to give it up. And you know he ain't happy about that. So even though you had joy, you had disappointment too. But the thing is that you have to learn in this life. Whereas, you know when you play sports, everybody get a trophy? Y'all think that's right?
No.
Everybody get a trophy. If you lose, you get a trophy. If you win, you get a trophy.
Yeah.
Right? In life, sometimes you win,
Sometimes you lose.
and sometimes you lose.
That's right.
If you never lose, I know the pain of losing, you're never going to be right. You're going to think every time you do something, what? You're going to be a winner. That's the type of mind that you're supposed to have. But be able to know that's the consequences I'm saying. If you don't do good enough and somebody else do better, that means you got to wait till the next time.
That's right.
But you can't win. Everybody ain't a winner. Amen. You look at the news and you see how people are passing away in the news. You look at school, how some people get on the cheerleading squad and some of them get on the basketball team and everything. Everybody ain't a winner. When the football team plays, what they lose. So when he came back home, his brother wasn't happy. But I'm sure they say this too will pass.
That's right.
In your life, when you're doing things and you think that the world is against you, and you realize that your mom and daddy love you, that's what you want anyway, because they're the ones what taking care of you.
That's right.
So when the boy came back, everything, his brother didn't like it, but he came around. And so what I'm saying to you today, when you get to the point that you think that your mom and daddy bad, think your mom and daddy don't like you, look at what you got and look what you're going to get if you leave them.
That's right.
Amen. It ain't anything based on materialistic things, but it's based on what they call love. See, Jesus will operate on what we call love.
That's right.
When the young boy went out there and disrespected the mama and papa, Jesus could have let him just go down. But Jesus watched over him. And just like you, when people try to do you wrong, Jesus is watching over you.
That's right.
And he wants you to trust him, obey him, and everything will be, what y'all say, all right. Everything will be all right. And so that's the way things go. Now I know I see a lot of y'all looking at me right strange. Why he over here picking on us? Why don't you do like Miss Joanne tell, leave me alone. Amen. But I'm just trying to tell you that a lot of times we get ideas in our head that we need to leave home. But you can't leave home nowadays until you're old enough to leave home. Most parents ain't gonna let you go nowhere. Amen. Unless you sneak out after they go to sleep. But then usually they're gonna what? Send the police to find you, right? What y'all call it, po-po. They're gonna send the po-po to look for you. Amen. So the best thing is just stay there and do like you're supposed to. Trust God, pray to God. And this is what happened with the young man. But in reference to the adults, this thing was saying how people in the world today go out here and get foolish in their living and turn their backs on God.
That's right.
And soon as they find out that God had a better plan than what they got, they come to themselves and they convert and get what they call born again. God is saying that the parents should train you up in the way that you should go, that one day you too will make a decision that rather than live for the devil, I want to live for the Lord, because God always got my back. But in order to be blessed by the best, who is God, you must got to be born again.
Amen.
And so in reference to runaway child and running wild, you need to go back home. Don't leave home. Amen. Don't leave home without him. Amen. If you can't take Jesus wherever you go, think about it. Amen. Because if you ain't got no blessing, amen, you're not going to be able to make it. Amen.
Amen.
Young folk, see, I can feel the Spirit moving. And I can feel your spirit, amen, that y'all feel like y'all being picked on today. But every now and then somebody got to tell you, amen, that everything I said, you ain't got to accept it, but you keep on living. You see exactly what I'm saying.
Amen.
But one thing I do want you to know, that even though you might think you got picked on and everything else, Jesus loves you. And as long as Jesus loves you, you got everything
Amen.
that you need. But always respect, honor your father and your mother. You want to learn how to live long? That's what the Bible says. You want to live a long, long time? Honor your father and your mother. And you will live for a long, long time.
Amen.
Runaway child, running wild. You need to go back home where you belong. That's all I got to tell you on today.
Amen.
Amen. I hope it helped you out. Amen.